Hello, and welcome to another Disney review. I'm your host, Sassy Critic. I talk about film, television shows, and everything around it. So if that's your thing, hop on for the ride. And don't you forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a video. Today's episode is going to be on Snow White. Not Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, just Snow White. I'm still not happy with the fact that they never added the seven dwarfs part to the title. It may sound like I'm being very petty, and maybe I am, but that's just it's I don't know. That kind of frustrated me when the trailer came out and it just said Snow White instead of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But anyway, what did I think of the movie? Short answer, it's better than expected. Yeah, I know I'm probably going to be in the minority of this, considering that a lot of people have come and said that they do not like the Snow White film and have given it low ratings. I am not one of them. I did go into the film being very critical, like I do for a lot of these other live action remakes, but with this one, I think like after a few minutes, I was like, let me try and go in with a more open mind and see how I feel after. And did I end up enjoying the movie? Definitely not. But did I feel like it was going to be, or did I feel like it was the worst movie I've ever seen? No, I've definitely seen much worse. I've struggled through worse movies. I've struggled through worst Disney movies. I'm definitely referring to the Alice Through the Looking Glass. I have attempted multiple times to check it out, and yeah, no, it just doesn't end well for me. I did end up watching that Alice Through the Looking Glass, and yeah, that was not a good experience. um, but was Snow White bad? Yes. But is it better than expected? Yeah. I think if I have to give a short answer, I would probably give it a rating of a 5 out of 10. The long answer is what y'all are here for, so I'll be going into a lot more detail as to why I gave the film a 5 out of 10. I found that when it came to Snow White, there were a lot more elements in the film that I did not enjoy as opposed to the ones that I did. So I think just to get it out of the way, I will mention certain elements that I enjoyed about the film. So the first thing is the Seven Dwarfs song. Not Seven Dwarfs themselves, we will get to that. They definitely are not on this particular list, but yeah. So the song that they sing, the workplace song that, is also in the 1937 version, I really liked that one. And I'm glad that they included it in this version. What I didn't like about the song in particular is the fact that it felt really long. And that kind of goes through for all the musical numbers, but we'll get to that when we get there. But for the most part, I liked the song and the way that they were performing it. The Seven Dwarfs in general weren't my favorite, but I did like Dopey. Dopey was cute and adorable. And yes, I am well aware that they are over 200 years old, but I did still find Dopey to be cute and adorable in like if you look at a young child, or if you look at a toddler and you want to squeeze his cheeks, like their cheeks, and you want to be like, oh, cute, 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 cute. It's that sort of cute and adorable that I found Dopey to be. Like, he was just my favorite one out of all of them. I thought Doc would be my favorite because Doc is my favorite one from the original film. And I thought, like, okay, it's going to be like that. And it quickly came to be that nope, it's not Doc. Doc is not my favorite. I like Dopey. Dopey was adorable, and I liked it. It was interesting, the story that they gave Dopey. I did not like nor dislike it, although I do have to say that in the beginning I was kind of frustrated at the fact that, they, at the end of the film, Dopey spoke. Not to say that he should stay silent, but like, I kind of liked the fact that in the original film that he was silent, but like after a while, like thinking about it, and by the end of the film, um, Dopey speaking was like, okay, like it's fine. Like it's not a big issue for me. But yeah, the second element that I liked about the film was the closing number. Now, can I remember any of the songs? Not really. I think the only song that I do remember would be the songs that the Seven Dwarfs sing as, the introduction, and maybe the I Want song, but that's literally because it was in the trailer. So, yeah. But the closing performance, I really like that. Everyone's wearing white, everyone's happy, cheering again. The kingdom has been restored. Snow White can be queen and all of that. She gets the love of her life, and she performs along with the townspeople, and I liked it. I enjoyed it very much. Um, yeah, another element that I liked about this movie, and it's sort of something that I'm a sucker for when it comes to watching films, and that is the romance between Snow White and I don't even know what his name is. I can't remember for the life of me, but the love interest. You know what I'm talking about. I found their development of the relationship to be sort of cute. Definitely at the part where there's a party and they sing, and the one is singing and then staring at the other. I found it to be kind of cute. It reminded me of that scene in Mamma Mia when they sing SOS, except they sing except in Snow White they singing about falling in love with each other, and in Mamma Mia they're singing about how their relationship departed and stuff. But it definitely reminded me of Mamma Mia, because the one will be minding their own business and then the other would be singing. I found it cute that by the end of that number, actually, that they were about to kiss. It was gonna be super cute, super romantic, and then everyone is staring, so then they stop, and I was just like, oh, it's such a cliche. It's such a cliche. Why did they do that? The interrupted kiss moment that literally happens in every rom-com. Um, yeah, so but they do end up together, so yeah, that's a plus. I do find it interesting that when it came to this film and Mufasa, that I did like the romantic element, even though it obviously doesn't take a big like role in those films. I still liked those elements, so I found it to be quite wholesome. Um, and I'm trying to think of anything else that I liked about the movie, to be honest. Um, Rachel Zegler's singing voice, I do have to admit, she's really talented. So I can definitely see why they made Rachel Zegler Snow White. I know that people have opinions about Rachel Zegler, and um, also on like her being Snow White. I'm not the biggest fan of Rachel Zegler, but I honestly have to say that when I was watching the movie, and she sang that song, "Waiting on a Wish," it it was just like, oh my gosh, she has a beautiful voice. She really does have a beautiful voice. If they ever want to bring back musicals, like film musicals, definitely consider Rachel Zegler to be, you know, in more musicals. I feel like she should be in more musicals. Her voice is really good. I think she did theater before she did film, and I can definitely see bits and parts of that in this film. But her voice was beautiful in this movie. Um, yep, that concludes all the things I liked about this film. Now, all the things I did not like. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna try, and when I say the things I don't like about this movie, I'm going to try and voice it in a way that doesn't come across too harsh. I did film another take on this particular review, And when I listened back on it, I did realize that, okay, maybe I was coming across a bit too harsh. But yes, I just want to make things clear. These are just my opinions, and I just don't like certain elements in the film. And unfortunately, when it came to Snow White, I did find myself not liking more elements in the film more than the things that I did like about the film. All right, so we're gonna get into the one that is probably the most obvious, and that is the fact that the dwarfs are CG. I hated that. I did not like the fact that the dwarfs were animated. Like, why would they do that? Why would they make that decision? What was wrong? And I'm genuinely asking this question. What was wrong with getting little people, people with dwarfism, to be in the movie and to play the dwarfs? You are giving them jobs. They can perform and be the dwarfs in a way that could be suitable for this film. But they ended up animating them. And yeah, I just did not like that. I think out of all the things that I did not like about this movie, that was probably the number one thing that did it for me. It frustrated me with the fact that it was CG and that they didn't use actual actors. I feel like to a certain extent it was kind of insulting. I do have to say though, there were moments when we see the dwarves in the film and Snow White isn't in the shot. It's when they start, when they're singing, and I kind of thought to myself like, oh, this is CG, it's animated, and then I'm quickly reminded about the fact that this is a live action remake. When they go back to the house and they see Snow White, so I was definitely, I wouldn't say offended by the fact that it was CG. It really irritated me. Like, I have a lot of negative emotions over the fact that they used that instead of actual actors. All right, second thing I did not like about this film was the I Want song. I know I said that I really liked Rachel Zegler's voice, and that opinion still stands, but if you're gonna have an I Want song in a Disney movie, it needs to have conviction. And I was not convinced. And I don't think it has to do with Rachel Zegler's voice or her performance. I think it has to do with the lyrics. And I found that the lyrics weren't all that convincing to me. If we look back at other really good I Want songs, think of The Little Mermaid, Part of Your World. Like, that song hits me in the guts, pulls me by the heartstrings. Jodie Benson is a really good voice actress, and she's a really good singer. But the words that is in the song, she sings it with conviction. And what I've noticed about The Little Mermaid is that when Jodie Benson is singing the song, she's singing it as the character Ariel. She's not singing it as Jodie Benson. And that's what I liked about that I Want song. When it comes to that particular performance, I love listening to Disney music. I personally will listen to I'll Make a Man Out of You when I'm at the gym on the treadmill. That's my go-to. So when it comes to an I Want song, it really needs to be sung with conviction, and it really needs to be in your character. And again, as I still say, I really like Rachel Zegler's singing voice. It was not, I didn't feel like she was singing in character. I feel like she was singing as Rachel Zegler. She just happens to be dressed up like Snow White. And with that being said, I feel like I don't know who did the music for the film, but whoever was directing her should have told her, okay, we need you to do this when you sing, or go soft within yourself, or be more expressive at this part because that's what your character is doing. And I felt a similar way when watching the 2019 version of The Lion King. I'm going to be referencing a lot of Disney movies in this video, but in the 2019 version, for example, we have Simba singing that song like "Make my dream to be king." You know that song. I forgot the name of it, but it also felt like in that moment he was the person that was playing Simba. And again, like, I'm not blaming it on the actors. I feel like it's just the way that they are being directed. It did feel like it was more of a pop song performance as opposed to him singing as the character Simba. And if we have to go to a good example of how to do it is, again, watching The Little Mermaid, seeing Jodie Benson's performance, you can really hear Jodie Benson as Ariel. And really think about that. You hear Jodie Benson as Ariel. Another good example of singing in character would be the song Be Our Guest. I know that's not an I Want song, but it is an example of characters singing, people singing in character. You have Jerry Orbach. He plays the candelabra, and you can hear that he is singing in character. One of my favorite parts of watching behind the scenes of Disney is seeing Angela Lansbury along with Jerry Orbach and Howard Ashman, and that gets me so emotional because all three of those people have passed away, and it gets me really emotional just talking about it. But when you see the behind the scenes and you see like how expressive they're not singing as themselves. They are singing as their characters. Like, when you hear Angela Lansbury sing the song Beauty and the Beast, you hear it as Mrs. Potts. You don't hear her as Angela Lansbury, because Angela Lansbury is just playing a character. She's performing as a character in that scene. And so, unfortunately, when it came to Snow White and with her I Want song, again, Rachel Zegler sounds very beautiful. She has a very beautiful voice, and I cannot fault her on that. But I feel like they should have given her more direction when it came to her I Want song. I feel like when it comes to the I Want song, it is something that I'll definitely put on my playlist. I like to listen to a lot of Disney music. So maybe I'll listen to Waiting on a Wish. You never know. But yeah, it was just the conviction of that song. The second thing I did not like about this movie, or rather the third thing I did not like about this movie, is the adding the 7 bandits. Now, here is where I'm going to try and be very clear with how I feel. Alright. So, to make things clear, I wouldn't have minded if there were 7 bandits in this film, along with Snow White. It could have been Snow White and the 7 bandits. I think I would have really enjoyed that. I liked the fact that they were the 7 dwarfs. I did not like the fact that they were CG'd, but I liked the 7 dwarfs, right? Or at least I liked Dobby. What I did not like was having 7 dwarfs and 7 bandits. Because I found that when watching the movie, a lot of the bandits didn't get a lot of screen time, or they didn't have a lot to say. And I found that Again, that's just me. I feel like maybe they could have had Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or Snow White and the Seven Bandits, but not both. And again, if it was more Snow White and the Seven Bandits, I would have liked that. I feel like I would have really enjoyed that film. All right, next thing I didn't really like about the movie is and this is more of a small thing, but I think it makes a big impact in my opinion. And that is the little girl in the movie. So in the film, we see Snow White and her parents go into the town, interact with the people. That's when we have the opening number. And we see little Snow White giving a little girl a little crown made out of flowers. And I thought, okay, this is kind of cute. I thought, or rather I was given the impression that the two of them were going to form a friendship. Maybe this friend was going to be the like key to the outside world. You know, by the time Snow White's father dies, and it's just her and the queen, that she finds a way to communicate with this person that she saw as a child. Maybe they reconnect when they're older. Maybe this girl, this mystery girl with the flower crown would have helped her out. Maybe the queen at some point could have gone to the girl with the flower crown and could have said, "Where is Snow White?" And she would say, "I don't know what you're talking about," because she's an ally to Snow White. And the queen would be like, "I know you know where she is." And maybe for betraying the queen, she gets thrown into the dungeon. And then at some point, the prince, not the prince, the love interest, I forgot his name, he also ends up at some point he would end up some point in the dungeon as well. And then maybe at some point when they're there, they could realize like, "Oh, you know Snow White? Yes, I know Snow White. She was so kind to me in times where I was poor." I don't know, something like that. And they help each other escape and to find Snow White, and then we could have had that true love's kiss. But, and this is the unfortunate part, we only see this character at the end of the film. Where, not at the end, but like in the climax. Where it's like, oh, that's the same person, and you recognize her, and that's it. I don't think she's given many lines. And I was like, okay, that's kind of disappointing. I would have really liked to see. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. But I think it would have been kind of cool. I feel like maybe I should do a whole separate video of how I would have wanted to see the Snow White remake, how it could have been done. Because I feel like the story that they've put together for, Snow White, like obviously it's a remake, it's a retelling of the 1937 version, but obviously with their own twists and turns. And I just feel like the execution was not done well. I think that Snow White had the potential to be a really good Disney live action remake, but it just did not stick the landing. Now, I do know that there were more points that I just did not like more than I did, and that's, I feel like that's very unfortunate. I also know that when I went into this video, I didn't want to talk about what's happening behind the scenes with Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, and how everyone feels about them as actresses, and how I feel about them. I wanted to discuss my feelings about this film. That's my main focus. So I put my feelings about the actors aside. I know that everyone was, at the time of me watching it, and even before it came out, I know people online were talking about it, but I just want to clarify, I was not here for that. I'm not here to discuss my opinions of the actors, nor are my opinions of the actors something that is put into account as to how I feel about a film. There have been movies that I've seen with actors that I have liked, and have not liked, and how do I phrase this? There has been movies starring actors that I really liked, but I did not end up liking the movie. And there has been movies starring actors I did not like, but ended up really enjoying the film. And despite how I feel about those films, I still had similar opinions over those actors. Right? But yeah, I just also wanted to put that out there when talking about this movie. Snow White had potential to be a good Disney film. I know it did not do very well in the box office, and I think that had to do a lot with how people feel about Gal Gadot and what Rachel Zegler said. Right, but we are not going into that. I am not the channel to discuss that. But what I will say is this film had potential and it did not work well. At the time that I am filming this, Disney has made a few announcements, including the fact that the upcoming Tangled live action Tangled film has paused in production. I don't know if they have confirmed this, but people are already speculating that it's because of the low box office ratings of Snow White. There's another, I don't know if it's a rumor, but it is at least speculation that Disney is going to go back to 2D animation, and I am here for that. I am here for 2D animation. There are things that you can do with 2D animation that you can't do with live action filming. But that's just my opinion. But thank you so much for joining me along this review. If you have made it this far, please give it a thumbs up. I would thoroughly appreciate that. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you do not miss a video. I am trying to be on schedule when it comes to filming reviews. I'm trying to really just be more consistent with that, especially when it comes to the longer film reviews. And if you are someone who is a Disney fan and you do want to see my opinion of what I thought about the Mufasa film, please check it out on my profile. If you are someone that wants to see my opinions on majority of the 2D animated Disney films, that's also a video on my profile. I did a cute little tier list and I ranked some of the 2D animated films. I do want to kind of film another video about ranking my top 5 Disney films and how I feel about each and every one of them. So, and I don't know, I'm still deciding, but I don't know. Do you guys think it would be a good idea if I did a video where I rank my top 5 favorite Disney movies and discuss each one? Let me know down in the comments. How did you feel about Snow White? Also, let me know. I would love to know your thoughts. Did you like Rachel Zegler's performance as Snow White? Did you like Gal Gadot as the evil queen? Did you like the performances? What did you not like about the film? Did you like the Seven Dwarfs, or are you like me where you were a bit frustrated at the fact that they were CG and not actual actors? I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments. But I think until the next one, I'll see you. Goodbye.